Hello, Raleigh. This is citizen reporter Robert Courts coming to you again from the Your Backyard Raleigh network. And I have another installment of our local government series, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Councilmember Stormie Forte. Councilmember Forte, thank you for joining me today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Well, it is my pleasure. You've had a rather, I won't say long, but you've had a couple years terms on the council. You are an esteemed representative, and you're now running for re-election.
That's correct.
And you're running for Raleigh City Council at large.
That's right. That's right.
Would you share a little bit about your passion for this leadership role?
Yeah, so I'm one of the rarities. I'm a native of Raleigh, born and bred here, went to Broughton High School, and I am a double Tar Heel, and then I went to North Carolina Central for law school.
Nice.
And have the distinction of serving on the Raleigh City Council, which I definitely consider to be an honor and a privilege. I was appointed to my first term during the pandemic, during the summer of 2020. At that time, made a little history, became the first Black female to ever serve on the Raleigh City Council, which a lot of folks thought was completely unheard of in 2020. And, a lot of the things that drew me to wanting to serve is, again, being a native, I get to see how much the city is changing. The city is really growing very rapidly, which is great. We find ourselves frequently on the top 5 or 10, positive lists, best places to live, best places to have a business, so forth and so on. And so we're attracting a lot of attention. We've got a lot of Fortune 500 companies that want to relocate to Raleigh. Surprisingly at this point, we're on the radar for Major League Baseball. Getting a professional baseball team. And so, we got the Hurricanes here with NHL, which is great. So Raleigh is really on the map, the national map, which is very, very good. But with that growth, we have some growing pains and we've got some challenges. One of the things that I would continue to work on and would be my priority in my third term, if I'm successful with my campaign, would be working on the housing issue, certainly dealing with our friends and neighbors who are unsheltered, which is a crisis. And I tell people all the time, if anybody had the magic solution, they'd be a $1 billion consultant because they would be selling it to every municipality across the United States. I mean, everybody's experiencing the same challenge, but we've really got to figure out how we can come up with some viable solutions. The other part of that coin is also, how do we make housing affordable for everybody who wants to live, work, and play in Raleigh, and in particular, the folks who work for us, our first responders. We've got a lot of our police officers, our firefighters, other folks, teachers, nurses, EMS professionals who live in either smaller municipalities in Wake County or often in other counties such as Johnson County, because Raleigh's just, really out of reach in terms of home ownership for a lot of the folks who do a lot of the great work for us. And quite frankly, a lot of our city staff across the board are people who don't live in the city of Raleigh. So certainly we need to figure out some ways to make housing much more affordable for people who work for the city, who work in the city, but really can't afford to live in the city. So that would probably be my top priority. Second, dealing with some of our challenges with transportation. We want to make sure that our public transit system is very efficient and effective. People know when buses are coming, they come when they're supposed to be there. But then, trying to figure out some ways to cut down the commute time. I mean, I personally don't use public transportation because it takes me probably 10 minutes to drive from my house to city offices downtown. If I try to do that on a bus, you're talking about 30, 45 minutes to get there. And so if it's not efficient, people aren't going to use it. So we need to figure that piece out. And then I would say,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I want to stay right here because I was just at a public meeting earlier this year, but certainly in the springtime. Mm-hmm. And a bus rider told me that if they're in Briar Creek, that they go to Durham to come back to Raleigh because it's quicker, and that they had a lot of input about the efficiency of the bus routes. So I really appreciate you addressing that. It is a very timely topic that I hear about very frequently.
Absolutely. And I know you spend a lot of time in downtown Raleigh too. So you get to interact with a lot of the people who use our bus and public transportation system. And so I know that you see those touch points, and again, we just want to make sure the city is working for everyone who's here. And I'll say my last thing, which is something that you're very familiar with, is, I have a passion for working for small business owners. I've been a small business owner myself. In addition to running a law practice, I've been involved with several consulting companies and know the challenges that small business owners face. And, one of my passions is working with the local business community, particularly folks who own businesses in the downtown Raleigh corridor. Not saying that the other small businesses that are spread out in the city of Raleigh are not important, because they are too. And we certainly want to make sure that all of our small business owners throughout the entire city have an opportunity to not only survive, but to thrive. People always think about Raleigh as being the state government complex. And certainly we've got a lot of government employees here, but I tell people all the time, the heartbeat of our economic engine is our small businesses. And so we have to make sure we do whatever we can do to make sure that they're viable, they're thriving, and doing very well.
Well, Councilmember Forte, I told a friend of mine that I was interviewing you today, and he went out of his way to ask me to thank you for what you've done for Raleigh's downtown businesses. And many of us believe that downtown is the heart of Raleigh, and should it stop beating, it will ripple all the way through the city, if not the county.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And, I had an opportunity to meet with several business owners a couple weeks ago to, quite frankly, talk about the Red Hat Amphitheater and the prospect of us moving it from its current location one block over, and the impact of closing South Street versus us not having the Red Hat Amphitheater there at all. And, to hear the importance of that particular project to business owners downtown, I was surprised to learn that for a lot of the business owners, the revenue that they generate from foot traffic from shows, be it the amphitheater, anything going on at Martin Marietta, that the theaters and things along those lines, that revenue sustains a lot of our small businesses during periods of time where they don't get a lot of foot traffic. And they, impressed upon me that, if we lose the Red Hat Amphitheater downtown, we could conceivably lose 10 to 15 businesses because they wouldn't be able to survive. Certainly, we don't want to lose any of our businesses downtown. We want to keep the amphitheater. We want to keep anything that keeps foot traffic going into those locations. But then we also have to think about what are some other ways that we can improve that foot traffic so those businesses are viable all the time when their doors are open. So we want to make sure downtown is a welcoming area, people feel safe and secure, but then also that people know what's actually downtown, what some of the businesses are. We've got a lot of folks who live in the city of Raleigh who don't venture out downtown at all. They never come to see the businesses. They don't go eat at the restaurants. They don't do anything downtown. So we really got to work on figuring out some ways to make sure people who don't necessarily frequent downtown understand some of the great businesses and some of the great opportunities there are in that particular area.
Well, Councilmember Forte, that's exactly right. Some of our development is not always in the plan. It's not always, done the way we prescribe necessarily. And I'm seeing that North Raleigh doesn't want to come down to downtown. They'll stop at the Beltline at North Hills or the new Ironworks, but they're not really seeing the full spectrum of what we have. In addition, downtown is unique, right? The history of downtown, all the small businesses, Shaw, all the things that make Raleigh unique is its own attraction. Is there any formula for getting more of Raleigh to visit its own heart of downtown?
Well, I just think we have to figure out ways to make people aware. So, and that may be, partnering with the Downtown Raleigh Alliance and partnering with some of the businesses to figure out some ways to promote what's happening downtown. We've got a lot of festivals. So I would say, we've got the African American Cultural Festival that will be happening pretty soon. We've got hopscotch coming up. So we've got a lot of things that are actually happening downtown, but we've got to promote those activities. And as people are, meandering through to participate in the festivals, it gives them an opportunity to see some of the local shops and businesses, go into a bar and have an opportunity to get a drink. We've got Sip and Stroll downtown now.
Nice.
So then, if people decide they want to get something to eat, they may not want to stand outside at a food truck because it's a little warm, but they can go into a sit-down restaurant, go in and grab some food. We've got a number of new exciting, restaurants downtown. So, and I won't plug them all, but, the Green Monkey has some great drinks. It's got a great atmosphere to stop in. They've got a lot of wonderful souvenirs. Flavor Hills has got an exciting. Yeah. So, I mean, they're just, different opportunities for people to come in and see some of the exciting business ventures that have not really been there that long. I think the Green Monkey's been there a little bit over a year. Flavor Hills is in their first year. So these are a couple of our newer business ventures that most people may not even know exist, but certainly just giving, some opportunity for folks to see, sort of putting them in a spotlight and giving folks an opportunity to go in and try them out.
Well, Councilwoman Forte, when I talk to out-of-towners that come downtown, the thing I hear the most is we love that we can come to Raleigh and it's unique, right? It's not a lot of big change, although there are some, and chains are welcome. But most of downtown really is uniquely Raleigh. These Flavor Hill, these shops, some of them you can only get in Raleigh. So how do we I hope we can encourage our fellow citizens that don't visit downtown to realize just how unique and special it is in that message.
Absolutely. And what I encourage people to do, something I do personally, when I go down to these shops, I try to put it out on my social media that I've gone and so at the Green Monkey, Rusty crafts some special drinks. I'll promote those on my page. When I go to Flavor Hills, I promote, whatever entree I had that day. And, I think it's one of those things that we have to do a pretty aggressive word of mouth campaign. And certainly as people have come down to enjoy experiences in some of our local shops, promoting that on their social media, making sure their family and friends know, it sort of piques the interest and it'll kind of get people to say, hey, I want to go down and try these establishments. I want to go down and try one of Rusty's drinks. I want to go down and try some of the, entrees at Flavor Hills. And so that is one way of kind of, getting the word out to people.
Well, my last question before we wrap up, it's not really a question. It's a thank you from the small business community downtown. I've heard that you went out of your way to set up meetings with Downtown Raleigh Alliance, city government, and local business owners so that we could all sit in a room together. And I guess what I'm saying is they think very highly and are grateful for you for championing the downtown businesses. So let me just add that in and add my appreciation for your commitment to Raleigh's unique businesses.
Well, thank you so much. Again, I think, it's easier once you've been sort of in those folks' shoes, when you've been a small business owner and know the importance of, keeping money flowing through your company pretty consistently. So it was really easy for me to jump in and try to figure out how to come up with some solutions because I realized the importance of keeping our small businesses downtown.
Well, Councilmember Forte, how does my audience get in touch with you? What can we do to help you get reelected?
Certainly. You can follow me on all the social media platforms at Stormie for Raleigh. So on Instagram, Stormie for Raleigh. I'm on TikTok, surprisingly, Stormie for Raleigh, as well as Facebook, Stormie for Raleigh. And I got to find me some young person to help me get some of these TikTok videos going or some other folks who have got some familiarity with it. And then also I have a website, stormieforraleigh.com. And it's STORMIE, 4, Raleigh.com.
Well, Councilmember Forte, thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment to local businesses. And I'm going to close by saying, Raleigh, Councilmember Forte, all this and more is in your backyard. Let's wave them out, Councilmember Forte. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.